Now, between you and me, I think South Carolina's getting a little bit jealous of Florida man winning the wackiest true crime headlines every single day. After all, let's face it, I mean, it's kind of hard to compete with articles like that, like that, like that. Anyway, well, darn to South Carolina ain't gonna try and compete with the incredibly low bar already set by the Sunshine State. Okay, check out this attention grabber from the New York Post. Psh. An early March filing put a 2-year-old South Carolina tragedy back into the spotlight. Before we jump into the case details and the story of a grandmother's continued crusade for justice, we need to take care of a little housekeeping first. Okay, y'all, this is a disturbing case which shows the extreme consequences of improperly treated mental illness, okay? Now, I should also go ahead and just give you, this is major trigger warning here, y'all, okay? Now, I would be remiss if I failed to officially welcome back Dick Harpootlian, Mr. Poot, and Joe McCulloch back to the stage. If you are recognizing those names, it is from the Mr. Alec Murdaugh case. Okay, now you'll recall that Dick was Alec Murdaugh's sometimes fiery, other times fumbling lead defense attorney. And though McCulloch was not officially part of the team, you may remember him as the very distinguished silver-haired gentleman who feverishly took notes during the trial. Well, last year, Joe made his way back into the public eye as representing counsel for ousted juror 785, or as we know her, Egg Lady, and her bewildered sidekick, Juror Z, Mandy Pierce. I, for one, am interested in watching Dick's legal prowess as he shifts his approach from that spiraling roller coaster of fanciful scenarios, which once dominated our screens, to that of a simple, straightforward purveyor of fact. So, without further ado, let's get started. Hello, Sofa Squad, and welcome back to the sofa. There's a sofa back there somewhere. There's a Paul up here somewhere. My name's Paul if you're new to the channel, and if you're not new to the channel, guess what? My name's still Paul, As you heard today, we are going to be talking about a pretty sensitive case, so trigger warning, this might not be for everybody, but let's just go ahead and jump on in. Now, the first victim in this case was 22-year-old Jared Andrea. He was a vulnerable adult who suffered from lifelong mental health issues, mental illness. Now, while undergoing treatment at the South Carolina Department of Mental Health, Jared was living with his grandparents in Chapin, and this is just in the outskirts of Columbia. Now, Andrea's caseworkers felt that living with his grandparents was too sheltered of an environment. They recommended the services of New Hope Home Solutions as a tool for learning independent living skills for socialization with his peer group, to quote them exactly. Now, in 2021, according to documents filed with the Board of Zoning Appeals, Brittany Jackson, owner of New Hope Home Solutions, which is a community residential care facility, described the Columbia, South Carolina company as a 3-bedroom, 1-bath home which can occupy 8 residents who are underserved and considered our area's vulnerable population, to include individuals with mild to moderate mental illness and or older adults with limited resources. The home is designed to assist clients in developing skills necessary to live independently within the community while maintaining their safety and security from qualified staff. Now, Jared moved into the facility in late February of 2023, and then just a few weeks later, on March 20th, his grandmother picked him up for a day trip to the lake. Now, she was stunned by his disheveled and filthy appearance, and she would become increasingly concerned by the noticeable bruising on his arms, his neck. And when she asked him about the injuries, he dismissed her worries and made excuses and all this kind of stuff. Now, Jared's grandparents took him on a snack run before dropping him back off at New Hope that evening. Okay, now this will be the last time they saw their grandson alive. By week's end, March 23rd, the facility notified them that Jared had been missing since the evening of the 20th. Now, court documents state that employees at New Hope expressed confusion and uncertainty regarding the timing of Jared's disappearance. Now, even though Jared had been missing for days, the facility failed to contact law enforcement, conduct any kind of investigation on his unexplained disappearance, and they failed to retain video surveillance footage for the period, including the time of Jared's disappearance. Coincidence? I think not. Okay. Now, after receiving the devastating news, his grandmother filed a missing persons report, right? She did this with the Columbia Police Department. Now, in the days following, family, friends, volunteers, you name it, they canvassed the area, they passed out flyers, they talked with other, residents in the area, other residents of New Hope. And tragically, the only thing garnered by any of these efforts were more questions, okay? Then, in early July, 33-year-old Deshea Butler, another resident at the facility, would mysteriously vanish. Within days, his remains were located in a wooded area across the street from the New Hope Home Solutions. Now, apparently he was unalived by strangulation, hit in the head with one of his lifting weights, wrapped up tightly in a black and white blanket, and then had trash placed on top of his head. So who killed these two people, right? Well, it was 25-year-old Mark Anthony Cantrell, basically kind of like another Wade Wilson, okay? Now, as you can see from this collage, he has quite the robust portfolio of mugshots. Okay. Now, with the more recent one showcasing a pair of devil horns aimed upon his forehead, okay? Yep. Now, his devilish choice of self-expression certainly gives new meaning to the mark of the beast. Now, and it's also a distinct indicator of the dark soullessness that lurks beneath. Throughout media reports and court documents, Cantrell has been referred to in a multitude of ways, right? A dog-killing psychopath, a violent and deranged criminal, and a cannibal killer. Just to name a few. And let me tell you one thing. He rightfully earned each one and then some, right? Now, in summary, this guy is, quite simply put, literally the devil incarnate, okay? I'm sorry, but if the tattoo fits, I'm just saying. Okay. Now, look, I'm going to spare all the grisly details here. We're just going to leave that with the basic summary offered in the court documents, okay? Let's quote a couple of things. Cantrell had a significant dangerous criminal history to include second-degree arson, multiple counts of animal cruelty, and drug convictions. He spent 3 years in state custody for these violent crimes and had been on parole and probation less than a year before he took the lives of these two people. Now, video surveillance would lead to his arrest for the murder of Deshea, after which he confessed to the brutal slaying of Jared as well. Now, Cantrell would confess that he killed Jared, and this is trigger warning y'all, by placing a bag over his head and strangling him with a rope. And then he placed Jared's body in a blue Rubbermaid bin. He carried it through the house. Outside, he puts Jared in a City of Columbia garbage can. The garbage can's later picked up. Jared's remains were in there, and I'm guessing they were, put in the landfill somewhere, right? They sadly were never collected, okay? And so he had to judicially be declared dead. This is insane, y'all. Now, authorities suggest he felt emboldened by the successful murder of Jared. Okay, what's stopping me, right? And so then he moved on to the second victim. But then the huge question is, why? Okay, why Jared? Why Deshea? Well, when Cantrell was interviewed by police, he let the world know why. And boy, did he. Now, court documents would state that he killed them because his alternate personality, okay, just bear with me, Robert Baldwin instructed him to do so, okay? He also told police that he had cut off one of Jared's ears and both of Deshea's and ate them so he could gain their power. Then he drank Deshea's blood over several days from a coffee cup. Y'all, this is horrendous, okay? It is tragic, it is heartbreaking, and 100% preventable, right? This is the very basis for the latest court filing. So how exactly did this all unfold, okay? Well, buckle up. You're going to need to. I'm about to tell you. So, remember when it was suggested that Jared try residential care to foster his socialization, learn independent living skills, all that type of stuff, right? On the very day that Jared and his grandmother and his caseworker there, Ebony Hunter, toured the New Hope Home Solutions facility, they came face to face with this monster, okay? And it was not disclosed to Ondrea that the Harbor Street facility, New Hope, served as a halfway house for released convicted criminals, nor were they made aware of his dangerous rap sheet, which was like literally longer than a CVS receipt. Okay, if you know, you know, right? So Cantrell's housing at the New Hope was not unknown to Ebony. She was very aware of Cantrell, Mark Anthony Cantrell, as he too was undergoing treatment at this place, right? So furthermore, they were aware that he continued to suffer from severe mental illness while in prison, and that these problems persisted after his release, right? Now, in fact, a few months prior to murdering Jared, Cantrell had been placed in an inpatient psychiatric facility after he cut himself because he believed bugs were crawling under his skin. Now, Cantrell also reported auditory hallucinations, which were precursors to his harmful and malicious behavior in the past, along with his paranoia and his unaliving yourself, we'll say, ideations. They allowed Cantrell to live among these other vulnerable populations, and they placed Jared in that home. And I'm sorry, but that was just a recipe for disaster, right? It's like, what, I mean, how, why? Okay, this part is just, it's so frustrating. So the facility could have, should have foreseen this, prevented this, yet it seems that they were driven by some form of monetary gain. And like it's so many of these cases that we've discussed, this tragedy, once again, it shows how dangerously flawed the mental health system is here in the United States, right? And the extreme consequences that can occur when state agencies fail the very people they are supposed to be protecting. We see it time and time again in these cases. Now, we've covered the negligence of South Carolina Department of Mental Health, and while not being specifically named as defendants, there was a dereliction of duty on behalf of both DHEC, that's the South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control, and DDSN, South Carolina Department of Disability and Special Needs. Now, as the filing indicates, Jared's mother was unaware the facility did not have a business license from the city of Columbia, which according to DHEC, a community residential care facility must have a license. Now, DHEC records show 2 formal complaints where New Hope is accused of operating an unlicensed care facility, okay? Yet investigators said there's no violations, and make it make sense, right? Now, again, this is another one of those that we're going to be watching, so stay tuned, Sofa Squad. We will watch this unfold. We'll be following. I mean, this again is semi-local. Some of the craziest stuff has been coming out of South Carolina. It baffles me, okay? And North Carolina as well, right? This is so weird how all this stuff is going on recently. So let me know what you think down in the comment section. I do appreciate it if you're still watching. While you're in the comment section, if you could drop some little Sofa Squad for myself, Roscoe and Spirit, Bo and Logan, well, the rest of the Sofa Squad, don't leave them out too, good lord. That way we'll have a place to talk about this case, all the other cases we do talk about here at the Sofa Squad. And until we get on that comment section and do all that, I'll see y'all soon.
I just wanted to say thank you again for watching the whole video, and also thank you for being part of the Sofa Squad. Special thanks to all the Patreon members, channel members from both of my channels, everybody who likes, shares, subscribes, comments in the comment sections. It helps the channel out so much. Now, don't forget, I do have that other channel, the podcast channel. That's where we go live, we hang out, we talk. We have kind of sort of a schedule, but just be sure and check it out. I'll put it up here on the screen. And then, like I said in the beginning of the video, if you want to follow me and Roscoe on the Instagram, go on, check it out. It's right here on the screen again. But once again, thank you very much. I really appreciate you being part of the Sofa Squad, and I'll see you in the next video.